to be amongst the best in the world at whatever subject you're studying. So I frankly think it's fantastic if you can weigh yourselves up against your peers. Obviously, it runs against the sort of pathetic wokery that we've seen in recent years. It doesn't want anybody to be able to see, how they measure up against other people. But I don't know whether this is woke or if it's just pathetic. But of course, I have it on good authority that Kai had a very healthy work-life balance when he was at Oxford. Maybe a little too healthy, wouldn't you say, Kai?
Well, it's no surprise that the Cambridge person on the panel is a bit boring.
Where did you go, Kai? Where did you go? Just for the record, where did you go?
Oxford.
Right, let's carry on.
And I do apologise to the viewers. You probably didn't expect to have two Oxbridge plankers on your screens tonight. Look, everybody knows where they stand in their classes. All the Cambridge has done is vowed to review class lists, weekend lectures, teaching outside of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Emma, you and I both know it's a tough slog.
Should be.
It's a difficult one. It should be. Our elite universities should be a place where you're tested to the limit. It is an assault course, You have 8 exams in 10 days to judge the entirety of your degree right at the end of it. But you don't need to be ranked in a public forum in your class to know where you stand.
GB News, the People's Channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hello, thanks for joining us. You're not going to regret it. Join us for the next hour to find out. Now that he knows what a woman is, will the PM apologise to them? Who gave British taxpayers money to terrorist supporters? And after the trans activist protests at the weekend, the police suddenly discover that death threats against women is actually a bad thing. I'm Josh Howie. Tonight, I'm joined by Kerry Marks and Archie Manners to take you through Wednesday's top stories. This is Headliners. But before we get to tomorrow's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good evening from the newsroom. Leading the news tonight, Sir Keir Starmer no longer believes transgender women are women, according to his official spokesman. It comes after the Supreme Court ruled that under the Equalities Law, a woman is defined by biological sex. The Prime Minister said the judgment brings much-needed clarity and welcomed protections for single-sex spaces. Asked, though, about using preferred pronouns, his spokesman declined to comment, but said trans women deserve dignity and respect. The Prince of Wales will attend the funeral of Pope Francis in Vatican City on Saturday, representing the King. It marks the first time Prince William, future head of the Church of England, has attended a global funeral on behalf of the monarch. He'll join world leaders, including the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and US President Donald Trump in St Peter's Square, after the late pontiff, known as the People's Pope, died on Easter Monday, aged 88. His body will lie in state at St Peter's Basilica from tomorrow ahead of the funeral. Sir Keir Starmer today called the Pope a quite remarkable man and said his legacy of fairness will endure. The retired judge who jailed Boris Becker and Julian Assange will lead the public inquiry into the Nottingham attacks, MPs were told today. University students Barnaby Webber and Grace O'Malley Kumar, along with school caretaker Ian Coates, were stabbed to death by Valdo Calocaine. Deborah Taylor was named in Parliament as the chair of the probe, watched on by the victims' families in the Commons. Barnaby Webber's mother says the victims paid the ultimate price for this shameful level of incompetence. The inquiry will examine how agencies handled Valdo Calocaine before his deadly attack in June 2023. Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood has promised it would work at pace and deliver findings as quickly as possible. The UK's growth forecast has been cut from 1.6% down now to 1.1% by the IMF, though it still beats Germany, France and Italy. The downgrade follows new US tariffs under Donald Trump, which the International Monetary Fund warns could trigger global economic uncertainty. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is just meeting her fiscal rules, and economists say tax rises could follow if growth dips again. Well, that turbulence today already hit markets, gold reaching a record high as investors flocked to safer assets. It follows Trump calling the Federal Reserve chairman a major loser for not cutting interest rates. The outburst sent US stocks and the dollar tumbling yesterday, though markets elsewhere did steady somewhat. And HMS Prince of Wales, and earlier this afternoon, closely followed by HMS Dauntless, set sail from Portsmouth on one of the Royal Navy's largest deployments to date. HMS Prince of Wales, the £3 billion aircraft carrier, will lead that multinational strike group to 40 countries. It's carrying up to 24 stealth jets, drones, helicopters and more than 1,600 personnel, all as part of Operation High Mast. Commanders say the ship is ready to switch to active operations if global events demand it. The mission will last 8 months, with all 2.5 UK military personnel expected home by Christmas. That's the news on GB News. Plenty more still to come right here. Don't go anywhere.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to Headliners. You know the score. We're going to give you the very best of tomorrow's newspapers with the best of today's comedians. First and first, we've got plenty of news to get through. We're going to have a look at the front pages. Telegraph, Trump to let Putin keep seized land. The Mail, Kemi, PM owes apology to so many women. All of them, well, the ones now that he knows who they are. Of course, Times, slave labour setback to Miliband's Grigals. Yeah, that would do it. Express, Reeves cannot blame Trump for UK's growth mess. Don't even try, Reeves. Metro, instant sack for bad cops. Good. Star, Beeb bosses, give me red card. Also good. Welcome, Kerry.
Hello.
Archie, we've got a lot of fantastic news. I just want to get straight into business.
You've had your Weetabix, haven't you?
I had a coffee and I'm ready to go.
How many coffees, Josh?
4 coffees.
Yes, I'd say so.
I woke up this morning, I was invigorated, I was like, today I'm changing my life around, I'm going to do some press-ups and I'm going to do some morning pages and I'm ready to go, and this is all about
4 coffees instead.
Exactly.
Mike's watching a meltdown in real time, ladies and
It
gentlemen.
could be. Let's go. Daily
I'm
Mail.
excited.
Daily Mail.
I'm going to slow things down a bit now.
No, you're not.
Get the pace under control.
Faster.
Kemi, PM owes apology to so many women, and of course this is following from the Supreme Court. This is all the fallout happening now.
Yeah.
We've had Bridget Phillipson, who's the Labour Women and Equalities Minister, who in the past said that trans women are women, and previously said it was not right to say that only women have a cervix, and now she's sort of changing her view a little bit, and of course Starmer is massively. These are people who have spent the last few years treating the word woman like a cryptic crossword clue, and now finally the cause. And I think, you know, honestly, I think Starmer really is genuinely grateful for the courts, because he knows that there was a chance they were going to defer it to Parliament, and he didn't want any more discussion on this. I think he wanted a final answer, and he's always going to go with the courts because he loves judges. His favourite porn site is Hot Wet Judges, and so I think he was quite happy about
Well, let me just stop you there. Archie, should he have been waiting for... That's the whole point. Years ago, he could have just nipped this in the bud and just said, yeah, a woman is now not human, female, 100% of women are women, and that's it. And this... we would have moved on.
I'm grateful for the clarity that Keir Starmer has given us by being grateful for the clarity that the Supreme Court has given us. It's his new phrase. All the Labour front bench saying we're grateful for the clarity, which is like Lord Haw being grateful for the clarity that Hitler was a monster. It's like we all knew this a few weeks ago, lads. We didn't need someone to show us. It does seem extraordinary. Anyone who seems to be taking this the wrong way seems to completely be willfully misunderstanding the judgment that came out. It's not saying...
Could not be clearer.
...exist. It doesn't say that trans people don't exist. It doesn't say they shouldn't be protected. It just says that the definition of a woman is a biological female. To me, it's crazy we're even still talking about this. It's like they're not goats, they're not dustbins, they're women. We know what it is.
Well, this suggests that the reason we are talking about it is because so many people Kerry, seem to be still captured.
I know, but for many people, it's wonderful. Finally, we've solved this mystery of what actually defines a woman. And I mean, for the last 2 years, that's another thing with Phillipson is she's basically said a gender recognition certificate means you can just go, like, pay £6 and you can go into a toilet. That's a thing for the last year.
In a women's sport.
To be fair, in certain types of concerts, I pay £6 to use the ladies instead. Like, when there's a large queue, I used to constantly use the ladies' loos. I can't do that anymore.
Mate, you just buy the venue.
You just buy all that, of course.
You do that classic Bruce Wayne thing.
You just buy the entire... But, you know, it's taken the British legal system, you know, this long to work out what we knew as a species 2,000 years ago.
Well, this is it. They knew, is the point. It just needed the clarity. That's the point in law, is that actually they've known since the 70s.
It feels like we're kind of waking up the woke now to reality, and really the way people are talking about it, some people are talking about it now as if it was all a dream. You know? It's like an odd selective memory going on. Sorry, go ahead.
Did Keir Starmer lie? Is he lying now, or did he lie when he said a woman can have a penis? Which one's true? They can't both be true.
No, I think he showed cowardice, or at least
But what does he really
didn't
think?
show what leadership requires, which is someone to state facts.
Yeah, I think this is probably what he really thinks now, and I think he was always up against his own party and afraid of them at the time,
which is the wrong... That's not how you lead,
yeah,
though.
Totally, but they're now stopping defining a woman. They're on to defining U-turn and whether it actually means going straight ahead.
Well, the point is, in Parliament today, Kemi Badenoch has been very strong on this issue. To see Labour politicians sort of try and pretend like they've been pro-women the whole time is somewhat disgusting, and the way that they have betrayed their own their MPs, Rosie Duffield, who's left Labour now.
Well, Rosie Duffield came out with a tweet thanking Kemi Badenoch for the way in which she's led. I think politically this is very good for Kemi Badenoch. You know, she's having a rough time, and finally the women are coming to support the third female leader that we've had in the Conservative Party.
Well, this is it. So, I mean, I'm just glad. Is he going to apologise? This is what the front page of the Daily Mail.
No.
PMO's apology to many women. No, I don't think he is. They're all just going to pretend that it never happened. It was all a dream, as Kerry says. Let's go on to the Daily Telegraph then, please.
The Daily Telegraph leading that Trump is to let Putin keep seized land, which is great news for any dictator that wants to invade its neighbour. When it comes to the peace deals that ensue, you get to keep what you've taken, which is great.
It's fair, right?
It's completely fair. I think Putin should have it all. It seems to me rather ridiculous, this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right. Give Putin anything he wants.
Just give him everything he wants, and we'll all just roll over.
Point at a map and enjoy himself.
Happy Easter.
The thing about Trump is he knows how to get a great surrender deal.
Well, yeah,
just give them everything they want.
Yes, totally. Yeah. Well, he said he could fix it, and he knows exactly how to do that.
24 hours, and it was 100 days. It's. I mean, you know, going on and on. They're also leading on the fact that a man who's made the world's media descend on the world's smallest country is guarded by some Swiss people in costumes and has thousands of people in a room locked up to choose the next one. Is having a simple death and a simple funeral. So that's how to do it, ladies and gentlemen.
One of those simple funerals with 42 heads of state.
Yeah, with 42 heads of state.
And 1,000 cassocks.
Yeah, and Tom Bradby going, hello, welcome to News Angular. It's a simple death.
Just getting back to this for 1 second, what's incredible about this Trump-Putin article is how they're not even going to America's not even offering any security guarantees. So Trump is going to get to keep the land, keep Crimea, which is the first time this will ever have happened since World War II, that someone's able to do this. As you say, rightly so, Archie, this is to any despot across the world, might is right. That's it.
Oh, the message is horrendous.
Just go for it. I think let's all invade.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of invading Manchester.
Well...
Just for, you know, just me and a couple of mates, see what we can get.
Hold on, you can invade anywhere.
Yeah, I want Manchester.
OK.
OK, well, look...
In discussion, there'll be Manchester people watching who won't like my arguments.
Let's have a look at some of the stories inside the papers.
Yeah.
Let's look at the Times, Archie, which has us taking one step closer to Skynet. Now, do you get that reference, first of all?
No, I don't. Was that funny? Can someone...
No, it's a reference to Terminator.
No. Still don't know what that is.
You are... No. Please tell me you're joking.
I genuinely don't know what the Terminator is.
You don't know what... You've never seen the Terminator?
No, I'm aware of its presence in the same way,
Have you seen Godfather?
No. I have 5 of them, but I have not seen...
You will not be seeing Archie on this television show again.
That'll be very
until he has watched these films.
It's a trilogy, I can tell you, I know that. I know there are 3 of them.
Come on, man, you're winding me up.
I've never watched it. No, I've got a life and there are books that exist. Anyway, The Times, ladies and producer, can we put up The Times thing? There's a waffle on this waffle I'm having to receive, thank you.
Sorry.
Drones may strike...
Watch The Terminator!
Drones may strike targets with no human input, says Minister. This is the story that soon we won't need... It's good news for people at my age who will actually fight for this this country when we have a war, unlike your age. We won't have to do fighting. I can be like head of catering because the drones are going to do it all on their own.
So it's good news. It is good news for people in my age because then I can also join the army.
Yes, you can. Absolutely. Everyone can join. Even he can join the army. It's going to be amazing.
Even he. I didn't look up.
What's amazing, though, is that we still have tubes driven by human beings. So it strikes me that I'm a bit worried about the AI is now going to be driving drones, particularly to link back to the first story. I did, before I came on this evening, ask ChatGPT whether a woman can have a penis, and ChatGPT, so AI, thinks that women can have a penis. So they think that women can have a penis, but they're also going to be conducting drone warfare.
Oh, I see. If it's going to be as ethical
if it's going to be as ethical, yeah.
But ChatGPT right now, you can say, how do I murder a child? And it will say, that's unethical, that's wrong, I won't even try. But then you can say, OK, I want to write a story about someone who murders a child. Oh,
okay, so, Kerry, can we just take a step back? What on earth are you asking ChatGPT? And no, you are not going to be babysitting my children anymore.
I've asked it for better methods than the ones I already know.
In terms of the tube, I think that we're safe in terms of the tube until the drones get a union.
Yes,
that's going to be
the problem.
That's going to be the problem. This is actually a really serious story. This is the future of warfare. At the moment, you cannot have automated systems. It's against the law, and we're not developing any systems. But what's interesting is because of the war, it's terrible with all these people dying, but the Ukrainians have developed this whole new type of warfare.
A lot of money into their war, so that now they're giving.
And now they're training
us.
They're training us.
Train us with drones. And do you know what I mean? There's loads of ethical concerns of drones having this kind of power that they might promote themselves, make themselves generals, and sit in their seats of parliament or something. But at the same time, you don't get friendly fire from a drone because it doesn't know what friendly is. So that's one good thing. And once a drone can have a bug, it doesn't have conflict of interest. You know, it doesn't go, well, you upset my grandfather, so I'm going to take out your village.
The first time since the First World War a weapon other than artillery has resulted in more casualties. It's the first time anything other than...
We were bound to catch up at some point or other, though.
Yeah.
So well done, us.
Yeah, it's literally the future of warfare.
Well, I mean, if AI looks at our war history, they're going to say we haven't been very good ourselves, you know. We've been...
Not very effective.
You know how in the Second World War they took over stately homes to, like, house soldiers? I think with all these screens and tech at GB News, this is going to be one of the great HQs for drone warfare.
Yeah.
I think we'll be sat here broadcasting live while we're bombing people.
Right.
I'd watch that.
On to the Telegraph, Kerry. We've got to figure out some way to pay for them, don't we? This is it? This is how we're going to pay for illegal immigrants?
British drivers who've been fined £25 million for accidentally bringing migrants into the UK.
Yeah, accidentally.
That's not each, by the way, that's collectively. And no, not accidentally. No, OK, so we had a few cases recently. There was the couple who came in and found an immigrant hiding in their bike rack of their vehicle. I remember saying at the time that it might have been that he thought he was a bicycle or identified as one. We never know these days. But I think this is reasonable to do. Apart from odd cases like that, I think theoretically you should be able to know, you should be able to spot if someone's hiding in your vehicle, right?
Well, not if they're very small.
Well, have you ever played hide and seek in a caravan? It's a really quick game.
I've never been in a caravan, full stop.
What about playing I Spy with your kids? I Spy, mummy.
I'll tell you why I worry about...
It begins with I.
Immigrant
Does
in
this
the car.
apply to the RNLI volunteers who are going to be picking them up off the small boats? Because that's going to do bad things for the people staffing the lifeboats, isn't it?
Maybe
they get fined for taking one on.
Yeah, because that's what they're doing. They're picking them up. Is that 10 grand a pop? Thanks for your service.
You think people would notice, like you're in your motorhome and you go, I seem to be emptying out the toilet an awful lot over the last 24 hours.
The gas meter's
Maybe there's someone else in here. Yeah.
Look, on Sunday, we have Free Speech Nation, 7 to 9 p.m. Please come and join us live in the studio. Scan the QR code. Visit gbnews.com/tickets. It's a lot of fun. It'll be lovely to see you there. We have got some amazing stories coming up inside the papers now. There is going to be The Guardian coming up next. And we also have this insane story. French University chief receives death threats amid Islamism row. Find out what that is about. See you in 2 minutes.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
You two met
I mean, since we last saw each other, then you two have done Strictly. And, but the fact that and there's quite an age gap.
51 years.
51.
I'm
And yet...
his granny.
But the fact you clearly get on really well and you've stayed in touch and you've developed a real friendship.
We really do. I mean, we live 5 minutes from each other. We speak most days, and Angela had this amazing campaign with Let's Dance, and obviously I was very, very much supporting that. And when you just get on like a house on fire, we just do. We get each other. We have great banter. And like you said, there's 51 years between us, but we feel like we've known each other for 51 years.
You have a particular interest in getting dance back into schools, don't you? I mean, your own experience of this, because your dad is a professional footballer, and you actually won a place, didn't you, into the football academy? It was sort of expected that you were going to be a footballer.
Yes, it was. I was expected to be a football player naturally because I was the eldest son, and Southampton wanted to sign me in the Premier League, and they still are. No, I chose to be a dancer, and it was because my dad and mum sent me to dance classes because I was very hyperactive as a kid. I was pretending to kick a football all the time. They sent me to my next door neighbour's dance school, and the class was called Tango Tots. I somehow ended up being a dancer and had to tell my Geordie dad when I was 12 years old that I wanted to be a dancer.
How did that go down?
It went fine. It's not like the film, not like the film, but it's very, 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 very supportive. And obviously the brother ended up being the football.
But you're very keen to get dance back into schools, aren't you? Tell me why.
I'm so keen because for kids that can't afford it, why not just give them the opportunity to learn to dance? We live in a world today where we're on the phones, we're on TikTok, kids are learning to dance anyway, so why not regulate it and let them learn it in school for free?
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get into a couple more of the front pages. Let's start with The Guardian, Kerry.
OK, then, Josh. UK to hold Ukraine talks amid Moscow speculation. So we're going to have the talks here. Basically, what this means is that we're going to have to be the ones that has to tell them that there's stuff.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Do you think that they're going
to put together a coalition of the willing to say that Trump sold you out?
And do you think they'll change the name Boris Johnson Street back to Schlafachting?
Or maybe David Lammy Avenue. I doubt that, though, because I suspect David Lammy will find a way of messing this up. I don't know how, but it seems like...
It'll be a roundabout.
Basically, what we're going to say to them, we're going to be saying, well, there's not much we can do at this point. Really, any plans we had really required a much better plan from the US.
David Lammy, actually, I was wrong. He might be very good at it, because really all it's going to take is a map and him just doing some colouring in and just making a lot of it Russian-coloured.
Yes.
Isn't it? So actually, in many ways, it's going to be easy to sell.
A red crayon.
Just a red crayon. That's all yours now. Off you pop.
The other story of the day, IMF blames Trump tariffs a major negative shock to world economy. It seems, Archie, that what the IMF are saying is that it's going to, worldwide, it's going to drop about a half a point from what they thought it was. But it's OK, because in the UK, it's just because things have been rubbish. That seems to be the gist of the article.
Essentially, the gist is we're all screwed. We're just a bit more screwed because we've got Rachel Reeves.
OK, that seems to be... That's the official...
That's the official line to take. And when we go on to the next newspaper, we'll see that people are now trying to claim that Reeves can't.
Don't get ahead of us.
Oh, God, sorry.
No, let's do it. Let's go.
This is not a prediction show, is it? No, but this is, the UK and global forecast downgraded. But there's a little bit... First of all, of course, you've got the Trump make trade wars great again. But the IMF also, I think they're a little bit envious because they like to be doing all the tariffs and the regulations. They don't like anyone else putting them down. So you're building a wall where we were going to build a wall.
Fair enough. Well, let's go on to the Express then. Is it the same?
So, yes, Reeves cannot blame Trump for UK's growth mess. Rachel Reeves has been told by experts not to blame the global tariff war for economic problems and soaring inflation in the UK. I'd have to turn to page 4 to find out what she can blame. That hasn't yet been published, so I'm just going to say herself.
That black hole thing's... you can't do that anymore.
You can't do that anymore. In other good news, there's 2-for-1 tickets to Blackpool's Pleasure Beach.
Also, Kemi...
That's nice for this.
Kemi promises to end the immoral and cruel tax on family farms. That's good, and she's wearing... I think that's a still from the video she did a few months ago.
She's wearing a barber, so you know she really cares about farms.
And that's her real barber. She wasn't... It's not like she just went out and someone said, wear this green jacket to look like you're on a farm. That's her. That's from her personal collection.
That's her barber.
Because I remember at the time they were very insistent that she owned a barber jacket.
Yes, she will overturn that, and I'm sure the tax on businesses and so on, which has been sort of backwards and forwards for the Labour Party as far as growth goes. But going back for a second for this one with Reeves is, I mean, she's over there in America right now, telling us a good story of what she's going to achieve and so on, but you can see her blinking in Morse code help. I don't think she really knows what to do right now. We've got the fastest growing economy in the G7, which doesn't mean much. It's like having the most flammable paper in a fire. So
my personal... I think actually they've done very well. What they're going to be doing is she's going over to America, and the official UK policy is to big up Trump as much as possible to his face. Just to say, you've got the biggest hands, you've got... Your hair's amazing.
Whilst blaming all this on his tariffs.
No, just like, look, we love you, we know what you're doing with the tariffs, but...
Will she ever meet Trump? Probably not.
No, I think it's lower down the...
I wonder if she does.
I reckon she could give him a limited edition Jubilee Cup and he'd let us off everything right now.
That's it. He does love the Queen. Times Archie. Let's have a look at some of the stories inside the newspapers. I've read this article 3 times. I still cannot work out who sent the death threats.
Right, I'm really pleased, because I don't understand this article at all, but I'm going to do my best to explain.
But it is important.
It is important. So the headline of the Times is that French university chief receives death threats amid Islamism row.
Oh, first of all, that's... OK, because I read it as French chef.
So did I the first time.
OK,
and I thought,
so there we go.
What is Islam doing to pain au chocolats? And I then realised it's not a problem. So this is... Threats have been made against Isabel von...
Go on.
Good luck, mate. Good luck with this one.
Have they just turned the lights down for this as well?
Budzing
Lewin.
That's the longest name I've seen in 3.5 years of headliners.
It's possible she's getting death threats because no one can pronounce her surname. That's a legitimate reason to say
But you know what? It's definitely not to... death threats are horrible. I've had them. But it's definitely not like accidental death threats. With a name like that. What I'm saying is, it's not like there's a mistaken identity here.
They might just
if it's addressed to
they have very much deliberately sent it. Well, that and
for it to get through.
It does just look like a cat has leant on a keyboard and named her that way. But anyway, she has been. Meow. She's faced criticism over her alleged failure to stand up to activists that have been said to seek and impose Islamist ideas on the university which she runs, the Lumière Lyon 2. I don't know what happened to Lumière Lyon 1. Maybe that was taken over by Islamists. But then now, without the Lumière Lyon 2...
Sequel's better.
It's like The Godfather. It's better. Is it better? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, what's happening is there's a man called Fabrice Balanche, who's a Middle East specialist, who was forced to abandon a lecture after 15 radicals came in and called him a racist and said that he was in favour of Bashar al-Assad. She has not stood up for him to defend his right against those Islamic campaigners as much as some of the centre-right would like. She's now receiving threats as a result of that.
Well, it's worse than that. She kind of did some victim blaming.
She did. Well, yes, she did. She said that this man was intolerable, I think was the word.
No, I think she said the interruption
deplorable,
was...
sorry, deplorable.
The interruption was intolerable, but he is deplorable. She kind of like...
His comments are deplorable.
While saying it was understandable in a way that's a bit like I opposed the arson, but the building was asking for it.
Yes.
Attitude. And so she's received death threats, but it doesn't tell us. As you say, there's no death threat.
It seems to imply that it's coming actually more from the right.
Yes, it is, but she was trying to have her ghetto eat it.
Yes.
I think she was trying to be nice to everybody.
There's a word that's been introduced here which I like. I would like to bring it over from France. The Islamo-leftists.
Yes.
I think we need to be bringing that.
Yes. I wonder what that is in French, though.
The Islamo-lefty?
I don't think it's Islamo-lefties.
Anyway, that needs... I mean, that's a real thing. That is the far left, the Islamists coming together. This is not for the first time. They happened in Iran, and then the Islamists murdered all of the communists, basically.
Yes.
That's what we're seeing now. It's interesting to see that the same phenomenon is happening in France as is happening in the UK. Similar things are happening in UK universities.
Yes, it's nice to see some in France, though, standing up to this thing, because we've not opposite. We've seen a lot of adherence to the extremist Islam going on also in France with the universities and so on. And also, one of the things they're protesting against is partnership with an Israeli university. And it's an Israeli university which, if they actually went there, they'd find it's half Arabs, half Jews and so on, and Christians and everyone else there. And some of the universities they're happy to partner with are in horrifying countries.
Yeah, Qatar and...
terrible abuses.
I think really the problem is
They'll
that
take the money.
she's not defending academic freedom.
No.
That really... Yeah, if you're the president of the university, you should defend academics' right to freedom of speech.
It's the hypocrisy.
They'll say free speech is going in and destroying a lecture. That's like, that's not free speech.
No, that's not free speech.
That's not free
That's
speech.
just rude.
Right, Times... no, actually, let's move on to the Telegraph, actually, more death threats. And the police might actually do something about this one.
Are we having a death threat special?
Yeah.
Cool. Trans activists' death threat signs reviewed by police. So this was an odd one. This was at the protest the other day where there was some awful hangmen figures alongside the phrase, the only good turf is a line, meaning dead. They can't write the word dead.
Was it dead? I was wondering, they've
the only good
it
turf
out.
is, well, I wouldn't say a living one.
No, I think it was sexy turf. The only good turf is a sexy turf.
Sexy one. Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
It's a hot turf.
It's all so violent, isn't it? I mean, 100 years.
By the way, this is around the country. It wasn't just London. This is all around the country.
It's all around the country. 100 years of women's lib and of all kinds and no murder talk, and suddenly there's an awful lot coming from this particular group. And the police originally said there weren't any signs that concerned them.
It was a lie.
And then the paper, the Telegraph said, here's some. And they were like, those.
No.
Yeah. And you'd think it would be the police who are the ones going, hey, we're the investigators. You're wrong to say there aren't any, because here are some. But in fact, it's the other way around, as usual. So you'd think if someone has a sign saying they're a murderer, you know, you should take them seriously.
This is a bunch of signs.
I watched some of it, and it was like a costume party for psychopaths, and the police didn't notice anything.
This is it. Now, I'm getting a bit of déjà vu to when people are calling for jihad on the streets, and the police then afterwards went, no, jihad, it means like hanging out and let's give each other massages or whatever. This is a similar thing. They're sort of going, no, what are you talking about? There were police there. There's no way they could have missed these signs.
No, they were huge. I mean, two of the signs showed hangmen figures.
How?
Did they know whether hangmen or not?
There was someone with a knife through their head.
Yes.
There were bullet holes.
Oh, it's very relaxed.
The police didn't do anything on the day, and that's their job. And it's disgusting that the gaslighting that goes on until various organisations and various women are having to stand up and go, could you please do your job? And there are people making death threats here.
Sure, after the riots in the summer 24, the police moved straight in with every single sign and tweet that they could possibly arrest anyone for. And I'm for free speech, you know. I think really to an awful level of free speech, but it's once again, it's just this incredible, insane levels of hypocrisy, and hypocrisy should have a price. If I was a Prime Minister, I would make a law against hypocrisy which would not apply to me.
That's why you're not Prime Minister. It's one of many reasons.
Make that placard. Right. Coming up now, guys, you don't get this, but I actually get an email every day that sort of shows the viewing figures and stuff like that. And then when it gets to 11:30, it's like this, and then people start going to bed because they're a little bit tired. Don't go to bed.
Don't go to bed.
Don't wake up. We have got lots of news coming up. We've got the Times. We've got loads more stories coming up. Don't go to bed. The graph will stay up.
We'll be fighting physically. Pillows.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
'Cause the failure is-
you're
the failure is-
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. So let's go on to the Times, Kerry. They've stayed awake. Some people have stayed awake specifically to hear you talk about the Times.
This is going to be hilarious. Like,
It's going to be good.
This next bit is going to be. I mean, we might.
There's a lot of pressure, Kerry.
Hello, both of you. Thanks for staying with us. Slave labour set back to Miliband's green goals.
Don't do a slave labour story.
This story is about. Wow, this is such an exciting story. Oh wow, I can't wait to talk about it. But it's basically about the fact that all the solar panels we've been buying up and so on have really been made with an awful lot of fossil fuels and slave labour in China, and it's all a bit of a con, really.
And that's why they were cheap.
It's a kind of a bleak metaphor for modern politics. It's if solar panels were powered by virtual signalling, we wouldn't need the sun.
Nice. So, you know what? I bet people are glad they stayed awake for that line, because that was a
thought.
Bloody good line.
Thank you.
But this is
how we're going to go with this show now. We're just going to do like points and approval for each line you say.
Well, this is an important story because it shows the hypocrisy here. Solar panels are great.
I was going to say hypocrisy, but we've said it a lot so far.
And solar powers actually are going to be the big energy source that will get us through the next few hundred years.
Well, particularly if they're made by slaves.
Well, this is it. But how do we pay for them? The whole point of having like this green energy deal was that we were going to be spending this money on UK industries, not just chucking billions to China.
So what we need is some UK slaves. Is that what you're saying? We need some domestic slaves. All these foreigners coming over taking our slavery.
Using other people's slaves.
We need some good UK-based slaves.
But this is finally
windmill of nonsense, Josh. And will you wear a Del Boy blouson?
Always. But it seems like finally now this has caught up to Miliband and they're going to have to deal with this. And they're basically
that was not the story, by the way.
No,
I was just saying that as a weird thing.
No, but the whole point is that the Lords, 92 MPs abstained from the previous vote. They realised that there is hypocrisy here.
Yes.
And finally, I don't know what it means the whole net zero thing might be thrown back, this whole idea of it. If we can't get the solar panels necessary, then what are we going to do? We don't have any industry here.
We're going to keep burning fossil fuels. The lights will keep going, and I will keep broadcasting.
But will you dress as Del Boy?
Yes, is the answer. What about this SAS?
The story at the top is asking
I understand that, but what about the SAS veteran story?
Oh, come on, give the serious news.
My mum
is watching. My mum has just messaged.
I thought they'd be more interested in Del Boy. It's a bit of
Archie's mum has been.
My mum Sam is watching. She says it's a good show, and she wants 50% of our viewers.
She wants that information.
So the SAS veterans are being upset about being unjustly hounded over things that happened a very long time ago. Some of them are septuagenarian, octogenarians now, and they're like, "What island? What are you even talking about?" about. We have vague memory of it. And they're kind of annoyed at I suppose, the British attitude of thank you for your service, we'll see you in court. I think it's very wrong that I think there should be, if there's some very clear and obvious, a definite war crime, it should be investigated. But this looking for a war crimes to investigate to show how
ridiculous
great we are is kind of horrible too. And it's going to stop people wanting to join up.
Yes, it was resolved. So the idea that the government is now going to repeal the act that basically sorted this out is ridiculous. Why? We've got other stuff we've got to get on with.
It was great work led by now former Conservative MP Johnny Mercer, who was doing incredible things on ensuring that people who did legitimate acts on behalf of our country don't get arrested many years later.
Yeah.
And now, as you say, they're all going to go to prison.
What about the Metro?
The Metro, instant sack for bad cops. Now, this is extraordinary, because I didn't realise this was the case, but this is the story that cops that don't pass a background check are now sackable. I assumed until now that they did have that already.
No, they've been paid.
But because they've been paid, it turns out there's no background check. You just, I don't know, sign up, put on a little hat, and you can go around arresting people.
Yes.
But Yvette Cooper is, she's on it. Wow, she's really got the grips here. She said in extraordinary moment of clarity that those that don't pass a background check will not be allowed to be credit. Well done, Yvette.
But you say that, but credit where credit's due. This didn't happen under a Tory government. This was necessary, and it's finally been sorted under a Labour one. So sometimes you go, all right, you did the
police
job.
was founded when, like 1650 or something?
We're creating a rule to get rid of a really dumb rule, and we had cops who were doing some hideous things. They couldn't be fired for it. Like we try not to be evil, and that didn't really work. Please don't be evil. That didn't really work. So now, finally, of course, in any business you can fire someone who's terrible at their job and might be dangerous to people, but apparently the cops couldn't. So now they can. And
it does seem goodbye. You know, better late than never, but still.
Yes.
Well, there we go. Let's look at this story inside the newspaper. Kerry, the Telegraph has more British taxpayers' money going to terrorist supporters.
Yes, and Kevin Badenoch is bringing this up once again. Why does she have to bring all these things up? It should be...
she's good.
I'd like to see the government doing it. Badenoch, Labour must apologise for handing pro-Hamas band 14k. So this is the band who are known as Kneecap. They all mostly come from historic IRA areas, and one of them wears a balaclava IRA style. They hate Jews and Protestants. They call themselves Kneecap, and all the clues are in.
Yeah, there's a lot of red flags there.
Yeah. And
they're not the kind of people you want your daughter to come bring home, I'll be honest.
Yes. And this, and they were performing at Coachella, which is a music festival in America, and they put up a sign. I won't read the whole thing here, but you can work out the rest of it. Israel, free Palestine. And this group, who are opposed to the United Kingdom, applied for an arts funding from the UK government. And they got it, at £14,250.
Well, they were rejected from it.
Tories blocked it.
Tories blocked it,
yes.
And then Labour just went,
Labour said, you know what, you're doing good work, guys.
I mean, let's just kneecap ourselves, for heaven's sake. The sheer cheek of it is incredible. It's like ISIS putting up a band called the Beheaders. But they've done it, and
some of their songs are great.
Bringing it up.
Some of their song titles. One of their song titles is "Get Your Brits Out." I mean, come on, you've got to, that's pretty good. The other one is Fenian, and then the C word.
Okay.
So
there's footage of them from 2024, a gig they did in Kentish Town in London, where they had someone up on stage with a Hezbollah flag, going and shouting "Up Hamas, up Hezbollah, ooh ah Hezbollah,"
which is not lyrical genius, is it?
That's against the law. They have now been.
It's not. I mean, Hezbollah.
This is not a free speech issue. They are prescribed terrorist organisations. Showing support for them is against the law. And frankly, I hope that they go to jail.
They're also terrorist organisations that would kill us all. They hate this country. And I don't know. And so you've got Sharon Osbourne in America who wants them thrown out of America. And I think they should say to them, you've got 15 minutes to get out. IRA style.
Oh, is that what they say, 15 minutes?
Well, we would say...
Oh, I see. God, sorry, yeah.
Was it 10 minutes?
I didn't know if they had a time frame.
It used to be 15 minutes.
I thought it was like half an hour.
What?
We're talking about telephone. They used to call in and say
you've got half an hour to get out.
They say there's a bomb. You got.
You
head start today.
It would be better if I'd done an Irish accent, but
there were different types
of cute way of doing
different type of terrorists.
Yeah, they were much better terrorists in those days.
Trump derangement syndrome reaches a peak in the Star, Kerry.
Donald Trump may bring Nazi Germany-era motherhood ideas to US. Stalin did the same. This is to boost population in the US, and really they're making this into something it's very much not, but it's a rather wild idea. The idea is to give medals to mothers depending on how many children they have. So you get a bronze if you have 4 or 5 children, a silver cross for 6 or 7, or the Gold Cross for maybe 8 children. So I can imagine women going, oh, I might have that one extra child and get the gold
In
medal.
this country, you just get hundreds of £1,000s worth of benefits. Actually. We give them cash.
No, it used to be.
We're
Not anymore, mate. Not anymore. Trust me. I fell for that one, and then they pulled the rug away from me.
This is, by the way, it's just a speculation story. This isn't something he's actually doing. They're just saying if he does. But for years we've been told that mothers should get a medal for their hard work, and now we're told it's Nazi if they do.
Well, it didn't start under Nazis.
The
French have done it, yeah. It's a famous part of Nazi folklore.
What I don't understand, journalism-wise, I mean, the Nazis also breathed air and drove cars. It doesn't mean that doing that makes you a Nazi.
Well,
it seems to really be marrying two things together that
that's the point. I mean,
Hitler was a vegetarian. Oh, you're a vegetarian. Welcome to the Third Reich.
Yeah, no. It is ridiculous because we have a problem in this country, in the Western countries, where we aren't having enough babies. In America, they're trying to grapple with this issue, which is offering $5,000 per child.
Do you think we should give medals then?
No, I don't think they should necessarily give medals, but some of the other things that they're talking about.
Cash? Because you've got 5. What would she most want?
Me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what she wants.
You've never asked her.
You know what? She wants the audience. She wants the audience to stick around for the next section.
Is that what she wants?
But they're talking about scholarships for applicants, for parents. We are going to have to get to grapple with this, and we are going to have to encourage young people to have kids. Now, the ridiculous thing here is that in the Hitler era, it was about having 8 Aryan kids, and I believe you got more if they were blonde and this, that. This has got nothing to do with ethnicity. This is about nation-states needing to replenish its population. And tying it to Hitler, I think, is shameful, especially as we are going to have to start grappling with it ourselves. OK, let's move on to the next one. Telegraph Archie, and another day, another business idea I had first.
Well, this is absolutely tragic and an indictment of where we are as a country. The Telegraph reporting, I'm a traditional housewife. Working parents pay me to teach them lost skills. Yep. This is a woman called Charlie Gray who runs online and in-person classes from everything on how to cook a Sunday roast to how to clean your loo. I mean, if you don't know how to do that, you shouldn't be having children.
Well, the way you do it is you call your cleaner in, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah. Obviously, you ring the little bell and you go, the loo's dirty, and you know,
I get on.
It's an odd article. It's like Charlie Gray's hero story of Charlie Gray goes into the kitchen like a domestic soldier. And
it's the most Telegraph story you could imagine. She was brought up by a father who was a scientist with loads of money. I mean, like then
she discovered the kitchen. Indiana Jones of domestic skills here.
Well, there's a serious point here where there is a generation of people who don't have very basic skills in terms of no one teaches you sewing or how to sort your taxes out.
Or Google it.
Well, this is the thing.
Google it. You don't need someone...
Some people do need help.
We have a seminar on how to use a doorbell next.
Well, would you know how to iron and fold fitted sheets? If not, Charlie's there to help you.
Do you know what? I think I can figure it out.
Do you?
Well, I really don't think the complications are that bad. There's people here who apparently can't clean a loo, so, wow. She's the Joan of Arc of feather dusting, Josh. The Rosa Parks of lasagna recipes.
Do you think if I... So we are going to have a couple more front pages. We've got a bunch more stories as well. It's the last 15 minutes.
I think
I'm begging you.
Oh no!
It's the last 15 minutes.
What's his
no, because this is the best bit. People are missing out on the best bit. Don't go to bed. Stick around. This is the best bit. It's the best bit. The mirror. Look at the mirror.
There's Jamie Foxx's picture, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about that.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It was a bit of a mixed picture for many of us over the bank holiday weekend, and there are still some showers around, particularly across parts of Madeira, the Canary Islands too, though perhaps some sunnier spells here. But it is looking a little bit drier across parts of Spain and Portugal on Wednesday. Still plenty of showers on offer though for parts of Italy, Greece and Turkey as well. Temperatures for most of us in the high teens or low 20s. The best of the temperatures over the next couple of days, definitely across the Canary Islands, with highs here of 24 or 25 degrees.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, it's going to be quite a wet start across parts of the southeast and elsewhere. Fairly cloudy day with some showers, though it's still going to be feeling warm and pleasant where you catch any brighter interludes. And it's turning unsettled through this evening and overnight, all thanks to low pressure, eventually sweeping in cloud and outbreaks of rain. Now, through this evening, outbreaks of rain could be quite heavy at times, particularly across any hilly areas, and turning fairly blustery too, particularly around exposed coasts. But behind it, turning clearer, just a little bit showery across southern parts of Wales, parts of the southwest, and across Scotland, northern parts of England. It should be mostly dry, some clearer skies at times, which means it's going to turn a little bit chillier here, but elsewhere it's going to be a mostly mild night as a result of all the cloud and rain. So across central parts of the southeast, those outbreaks of rain continuing, still a little heavy at times and still fairly blustery. Showers set to continue across Devon and Cornwall, but for Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, a largely dry start to the day. Plenty of clear and bright spells to start too. Across Scotland, we'll see a mix of cloud and some brighter spells, a chance of some showers, particularly across the Northern Isles, some longer spells of rain here. So rain set to continue across central and southeastern parts through the morning, eventually fizzling out, but it's going to leave behind some cloud. Still a chance of some light outbreaks of rain. But across Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, Northern England, a few sunnier spells here, but still a risk of showers, particularly in the west, and the odd one or two turning rather heavy. But in the brighter spells, still feeling pleasant for the time of year. Highs around 17, possibly 18 degrees Celsius. Now into Thursday, once again a fairly cloudy start, particularly around North Sea coast, but most cloud burning back through the course of the morning, allowing some brighter spells to develop. But once again a change on its way from the west, more cloud feeding in here, and eventually we'll see outbreaks of rain. And for the rest of the week, it's the wettest in the west, but still plenty of dry weather and temperatures improving day by day. Bye-bye.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Thank you so much for coming back for the last bit of headliners. We have found out that Archie's father has gone to bed. His mum is still there. Thank you so much. Is it Sue?
Sam.
Sam. Thank you, Sam.
Well done, Sam.
We love you, Sam. And leave him going to bed early like that. It's disgusting behaviour. I hope you're proud of your son here. You don't care. You just don't care
Josh,
about our
I'm all
audience.
out for the last blood-pumping few minutes.
Go, Mirror, go.
So big time.
Keep that energy.
In the arms of God. We have a picture of the Pope lying in state with a human licorice all sort guarding over him. And he looks so relaxed, Josh. So we should all relax.
Well, in the arms of God.
JD Vance killed him, obviously, as we all know. Liz Truss did the Queen.
Someone did put out... look, OK, I understand for many, literally millions or billion people, this is a big deal. So, OK, but someone did put out a funny thing about how the Dalai Lama doesn't want to meet with JD Vance now.
Absolutely right. No one wants to meet Dalai Lama.
That's funny.
It is.
OK, let's go.
Funny. That is
before we get cancelled, let's go to the Daily Star.
Let's go to the Star.
Now, here's someone we can lay into.
This is the very sad news. Talking of men who are no longer relevant because they're dead. Gary Lineker is no longer on the BBC. He has been fired.
Is he dead?
He's not. I'm afraid to say dead.
He's dead to me.
He's dead to me. Although his son is a friend of mine, so I'd probably not be quite so rude about him. Anyway, he's no longer doing a show called Match of the Day, which is where him and a bunch of other low IQ individuals talk about a game. Okay. So we're all very sad about that. But it does mean the BBC have now got 1.35 million to spend.
But what he can do is...
BBC, I will come and work for you. Just give me some of that 1.35 million.
And what Gary Lineker can do, as he's been doing for a long time now, is pontificate on issues he knows absolutely nothing about.
Yeah, he can be the world expert and his total naivety.
Did you see his interview? It was just, the stuff about Israel was beyond disgusting. The way he went into, he said, when they said, well, what about October 7th? And he went, well, that was, you know, really, that was awful. But it's like, can you not just not? You know, he didn't acknowledge it at the time, by the way. Totally blanked it out.
He could be Pope. That is also possible.
Look, he's already gone as far as I'm concerned, and I didn't even notice when he was around.
Fine. Fair enough. Let's go to something makes us much happier than Gary Lineker. The Times has the benefits of loved ones who constantly poo all over the place and dogs.
Yes, they found that dogs really are our best friends. So, you know what? We really like dogs as a people, which lucky the scientists were along to discover that. And more than most of our friends and our family bonds and everything, we really
just really love dogs.
We love dogs.
Love them.
Personally, I don't really form good relations with creatures that expect me to pick up their poo in the park, but other people do. Okay. A dog won't let you down. It won't be disloyal. If you,
You're just going to read out the benefits of dogs.
No, I'm telling you all the facts. Except if you die in a locked house, your dog will eat you in about 2 or 3 days.
Well, that's
Is that what it is?
That's fact, yes.
Yeah, dogs are very good at that.
That's how good the friend is. Whereas your children, it takes them a few weeks.
Or so.
They'll leave you for a little bit and then it'll be like alive.
No, but they cry whilst they do it.
I would like to say to Professor Eniko Kubinyi, who is the studies senior author, get a life, do something more useful with your studies.
Ooh, that's hot.
We knew
Look at you.
Not useful information. It's not useful information. We knew we liked dogs. People like dogs. I can tell you that by walking around.
Okay, well, look, I hope that was worth you guys staying up for that extra little bit there. The show's nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Wednesday's front pages. Telegraph, Trump to let Putin keep seized land. Mail, Kemi, PM owes apology to so many women, including Rosie Duffield. Times, slave labour setback to Miliband's green goals. I will do it. Express, Reeves cannot blame Trump for UK's growth mess. Metro, instant sack for bad cops. The Star, Beeb bosses gave me the red card. Good. That's all we have time for. Thank you very much to my guests, Kerry Marks, Archie Manners. We're back at 11 p.m. tomorrow. If you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Have a great day. Bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, it's going to be quite a wet start across parts of the southeast and elsewhere. Fairly cloudy day with some showers, though it's still going to be feeling warm and pleasant where you catch any brighter interludes. And it's turning unsettled through this evening and overnight, all thanks to low pressure, eventually sweeping in cloud and outbreaks of rain. Now, through this evening, outbreaks of rain could be quite heavy at times, particularly across any hilly areas, and turning fairly blustery too, particularly around exposed coasts. But behind it, turning clear, just a little bit showery across southern parts of Wales, parts of the southwest, and across Scotland, northern parts of England. It should be mostly dry, some clearer skies at times, which means it's going to turn a little bit chillier here, but elsewhere it's going to be a mostly mild night as a result of all the cloud and rain. So across central parts of the southeast, those outbreaks of rain continuing, still a little heavy at times and still fairly blustery. Showers set to continue across Devon and Cornwall. But for Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, a largely dry start to the day. Plenty of clear and bright spells to start too. Across Scotland, we'll see a mix of cloud and some brighter spells, a chance of some showers, particularly across the Northern Isles. Some longer spells of rain here. So rain set to continue across central and southeastern parts through the morning, eventually fizzling out, but it's going to leave behind some cloud. Still a chance of some light outbreaks of rain. But across Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, northern England, a few sunnier spells here, but still a risk of showers, particularly in the west, and the odd one or two turning rather heavy. But in the brighter spells, still feeling pleasant for the time of year. Highs around 17, possibly 18 degrees Celsius. Now into Thursday, once again a fairly cloudy start, particularly around North Sea coast, but most cloud burning back through the course of the morning, allowing some brighter spells to develop. But once again a change on its way from the west, more cloud feeding in here, and eventually we'll see outbreaks of rain. And for the rest of the week, it's the wettest in the west, but still plenty of dry weather and temperatures improving day by day. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're
the failure is
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
A very, very good evening and welcome to GBN Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Tonight's show, finally, the Migrant League table of crime shame will be released. The Labour Party has said, but why now? And why has it taken a Labour government to push this through? I'll be asking this very question to a former Tory migration minister next. And forget the Cold War, it's now Cod Wars, because Brexit promised control of our waters, but the Labour Party is now considering giving away even more of our fish for a seat at Europe's defence table. Our fishermen once again being sold down the river all along again. Plus, prison bosses have banned sniffer dogs from the unit that once held terror plotter Hashim Abidi after inmates complained that the animals offended their Muslim faith. You couldn't make it up. Well, the show is a pleasure to have your company. Now, please get in touch. I want to hear your views tonight. And to do that, you go to gbnews.com/your say. It's your show. Get involved. But first, here's your headlines, and it's Sam Francis.
Martin, thank you, and good evening to you. Just coming up to 2 minutes past 7. Leading the news, Sir Keir Starmer no longer believes transgender women are women, according to his official spokesman. It comes after the Supreme Court ruled that under equalities law, a woman is defined by biological sex. The Prime Minister said the judgment brings much-needed clarity and welcomed protections for single-sex spaces. But asked about using preferred pronouns, his spokesman declined to comment. Well, speaking earlier this afternoon in the Commons, the Equalities Minister Bridget Phillipson says the new ruling makes the law crystal clear, but accused Kemi Badenoch of doing nothing during her time in government.
I have campaigned for decades on women's rights. I know more than most the importance of spaces for women. I fought for them, I delivered them, I ran them. And during my time running that refuge, while Labour was delivering the groundbreaking Equality Act, which this ruling confirms sets in law the basis for single-sex spaces, what was the leader of the opposition doing? She was busy hacking the website of the leading architect of the Equality Act, forever the keyboard warrior.
Kemi Badenoch hit back, though, accusing Labour of abandoning common sense in what she described as a rushed jump on the bandwagon.
I could not believe my eyes or my ears this afternoon. In 2021, the Prime Minister said it is not right to say only women have a cervix. In 2022, he said it is the law that trans women are women. In 2023, he said, and I quote, 99% of women don't have a penis. I know what a woman is, and I always have. The people of this country know what a woman is. We didn't need the Supreme Court to tell us that, but this government did.
In other news tonight, the UK's growth forecast has been cut from 1.6% now down to 1.1% by the International Monetary Fund, though it does still beat Germany, France and Italy. The downgrade follows new US tariffs under Donald Trump, which the IMF warns could trigger global economic uncertainty. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, though, is just meeting her fiscal rules, and economists say tax rises could follow if growth dips again. The Prince of Wales will attend the funeral of Pope Francis in Vatican City on Saturday, representing the King. It's the first time Prince William, future head of the Church of England, has attended a global funeral on behalf of the monarch. He'll join other world leaders, including Sir Keir Starmer and Donald Trump, in St Peter's Square after the late pontiff, known as the People's Pope, died on Easter Monday. His body will lie in state from tomorrow ahead of the funeral mass. Sir Keir Starmer today called the Pope a quite remarkable man and said his legacy of fairness will endure. And HMS Prince of Wales and earlier this afternoon HMS Dauntless both set sail from Portsmouth on one of the Royal Navy's largest deployments to date. Well, HMS Prince of Wales, a £3 billion aircraft carrier, is leading the multinational strike group to 40 countries across Europe, Asia and the Middle East. It's carrying up to 24 stealth jets, drones, helicopters and more than 1,600 personnel, all as part of Operation Highmast. Commanders say the ship is ready to switch to active operations if global events demand it. The mission will last 8 months and all UK military personnel are expected to be back by Christmas. You're up to date just after 7 o'clock. A full roundup at the top of the hour. Now, though, it's over to Martin.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to GBN Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Now, for months, there have been calls for crime data by nationality to be published for foreign offenders, certainly from us here at GB News. Now, time and time again, the Home Office claimed they didn't have the data. But hey, presto, today, Yvette Cooper announced they do have that data after all. And more than that, it will be published by the end of the year. What took them so long? And will the uncomfortable facts destroy the myth of the multicultural dream? Well, as expected, the Tories have been claiming it as their victory, including Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick.
So some good news just in. Almost exactly a year since I tabled an amendment to force the publication of data on crime by nationality. It looks like it's finally going to happen. The cover-up is coming to an end.
Of course, the big question is, why didn't they do that in 14 years of government? I digress, because joining me now is the former Tory Minister for Legal Immigration, Tom Persclove, and I'm also joined by my delightful panel. That is Serrano J. Wardener, the former Conservative MP, and the Minister, of course, and Joe Phillips, the journalist and the former press secretary to Paddy Ashdown. Always an absolute pleasure. Let's first, Tom, to you, Captain Persclove. So, they didn't have the data. They said time and time and time again at GB News. We asked them repeatedly. We've managed to get our own data. We worked around it by using Ministry of Justice data against population. I digress. Yvette Cooper suddenly, it seems, has seen the light. Do you support the notion of publishing data, crime by nationality?
I do, actually, and one of the things from my time in the Home Office was that I always thought that being more transparent about the challenges that we face around borders and migration was important. And I well remember I was the legal migration minister, but in that time there were conversations ongoing within the department about trying to publish more of this information. I know that James Cleverly and Michael Tomlinson asked officials to really get into this to try and produce that additional information. And I'm pleased that we've got to this point where there is now going to be this regular publication in the same way that, for example, I tasked officials with publishing the legal migration data in a more thoroughgoing way that has shown that the numbers have been falling dramatically month on month.
It's worth, I think, calling some of the data up that we managed to get hold of here at GB News via Rob Bates at the Centre for Migration Control. We can call some of this up now. We managed to find out by going to crime data, arrest data, conviction data against the population. Total crime, for example, Albanians 30 times more likely to be a criminal versus Brits. That's total convictions there. In second place, Moldovans, 12 times more likely. The Congolese, 11.6 times more likely. Overall, 66 nationalities are likely to have a higher conviction rate versus Brits. Let's go on to sex crime. Sex crime, Afghans, 22 times more likely. Eritreans, 20 times more likely. And there are 87 nationalities more likely to be sexual criminals versus Brits. Violent crime paints a similar picture. Data from the Congo, 11.7 times more likely. Somalians, 8 times more likely. Afghans, 6 times more likely. You get the picture. And by the way, Tom and my panel, this is backed up in data we've seen across the Netherlands, across Germany, across Denmark. But, and here's the key point, Tom Persclove, the proposal by the Home Secretary, by Yvette Cooper, is only to publish data for those who are about to be deported. Poses the obvious question, we can't deport Afghans, we can't deport Syrians, we can't deport a lot of these people on this list. With that in mind, is this thin gruel?
And as ever, Martin, you get to the nub of the issue in that publication is welcome, it's the right thing to do, but just publishing data for publishing data's sake doesn't really achieve anything. What matters here is the operational processes that sit behind this. And you're exactly right to point out that the problem that you have here, and that, for example, the data that I've seen in some of the newspaper reporting on this today, is that, for example, Sudanese individuals are a significant part of this cohort, Eritreans are a considerable part of this cohort, and it's virtually impossible to remove any of those people. And that goes right back to the problem that we have that runs all the way through this, that tinkering at the edges, playing around on this issue at the margins isn't going to solve it. And the way that you stop this, fundamentally, is to stop these channel crossings, stop individuals from these nationalities arriving in the first place. And unless you've got an ability to be able to relocate those people somewhere, they're going to keep coming. And it is thin gruel, what we've been hearing in recent days. This one in, one out with the French won't work. The additional information that we've been hearing in recent days around return hubs, again, you'll have the same problem because you could send people to a return hub, but if you can't remove them back to that country of origin, you're not really solving anything. And removing Albanians back to Albania is very much the easy end of this.
Yeah, and you know, they shouldn't be here in the first place. We could deport all the Albanians. We haven't. I digress. Now, I have to push you on the point, Tom, that this could have been done in 14 years of power. Robert Jenrick today looking slightly smug, but let's be honest, you could have dealt with this before. Why didn't the Conservatives grasp the nettle when you were in power?
Well, I think Robert's been right to campaign on this, and I'm pleased that it's culminated in this publication today. As I say, my understanding from my time when I was in the department, albeit in a different area of policy, in legal migration, was that there were conversations going around in the department about how we could publish more of this information relating to foreign national offenders. I think it is welcome. But as I say, it comes back to what are you going to do with this information? And what you need to have is operational responses that get to the heart of the problem. The British people are fed up, sick to the back teeth of these illegal migration journeys that are being made. We're seeing crossing numbers up by 30%. We had nearly 2,000 arrivals last week. That is eye-watering. It's completely unacceptable. And that is the root cause of the figures that we're seeing coming out the back end of the system.
OK, Tom, stick with us. Just a quick reminder, you can see on your screen there, Robert Jenrick will be on Patrick Christie's tonight, so he can answer the questions then about why this wasn't implemented in 14 years. Let's bring in my panel now. Joe Phillips, I'll come to you first. Do you welcome... This data isn't without its controversy, of course. Some people might say it blows a dog whistle, but nevertheless, facts are facts. Facts aren't racist, and the facts paint a picture of repeat offenders amongst certain nations. Do you back the publishing of this data?
Yes, I do, but I would like Tom to answer the question that you asked him. Why didn't you do it? All you've said is there were conversations. You were 14 years. It's a very long conversation. So why didn't you do it? Was it because you wouldn't stand up to Home Office civil servants? I mean, why didn't you do this?
I think my record of standing up to the system in driving forward progress speaks for itself. And you look at the fall in legal migration numbers that are a direct result of the work that James Cleverly and I took forward. And actually, this government is claiming the benefit of the policy change, the sweeping policy change that I introduced through the Nationality and Borders Act, all these additional processes and changes to the law that make it easier to get rid of these people. They voted against the lot.
But why didn't you do this?
Well, I mean, you have limited bandwidth as a minister. Well, you do.
You clearly don't. If Yvette Cooper can do it, you could have done it.
Well, I mean, Yvette Cooper is failing on every metric. We've got 8,500 more people in hotels.
That's not you think is good. I'm asking you, and Martin's asked you, why didn't you? And all you've said is we had conversations.
Over our time in office, the statistical releases increased markedly in terms of the information available. So we're not going to get an answer. But in the final months of the government, one of the pieces of work that my understanding was taken forward was around trying to get to the bottom of being able to publish these figures and the work that needed to be done in order to collate them. We're now seeing that able to be published. I think that that's a very welcome thing. OK. But just having figures isn't actually going to solve the issue. Let's bring in somebody else who may have had their fingerprints on that. Sir Ranulph, why didn't the Conservatives do this 14 years at the helm?
Well, look, first of all, I didn't ever have the privilege of serving at the Home Office, which is one of the great offices of state, and I salute those who have done some great work in controlling our migration. Look, we can relitigate the past, or we can focus on what's happening right now. And I think viewers on GB News today are interested in what's happening right now. And what we're seeing is, under Labour, illegal crossings going up. We're seeing deterrence like the Rwanda scheme's scrapped. We're seeing our international standing trashed with the potential...
But you support this data being published?
Fine, this data can be published, but the real thing that we need to do is stop the illegal crossings. And Labour have just got rid of that possible solution. We thought it was a solution. They didn't give it a chance, which was the Rwanda scheme, which would have meant that there was a deterrent, which would have reduced the number of people making the crossing in the first place, which would reduce the number of people coming here with the propensity it would the data would suggest to commit crimes. So, you know, that would have been the solution. And of course, what they're doing now with some of the international agreements that they're negotiating, you know, we negotiated a deal, and actually I think it was Robert Jenrick who negotiated the Albania deal to make sure that Albania took back illegal migrants.
It's patently not working.
Hang on.
Albanians are the greatest number of foreign nationals by population ratio in the entire country.
Under the Conservative government, the migration fell by a third, illegal migration fell by a third, as a result of the returns to Albania. Now, if Labour can't do that now, that's Labour's fault, not ours. But I would just say the deals with France and so on, that's going to be another draw to the UK. If people know that they can, if they get here, then their family are given a free pass here, that's going to draw more people to take that really dangerous journey.
I just want to ask
very poor.
A conversation that one of you, former Tory MPs, might be able to answer. Is it not the case that if you are sentenced to a term of more than 12 months, you can be deported?
That's correct. So that's what the UK
Borders
Act of 2007 requires.
Yes. So they can be sent back, whether they're Eritreans or Sudanese or whatever. They
cannot be, because the problem you have is that they are not deemed to be safe in the eyes of the international system, and as a result, you're in a position where you cannot return people back to that country of origin, and that's why you need a third country.
Unless you've got the political stones to get on with it. The Germans of deporting Afghans to the Taliban. They're in the ECHR. They're in the European Union. It's a case of where there's a will, there's a way, and it would appear there wasn't a will under the previous government. Is there a will, Joe, under this government to finally deport these people? No. How can we do that back to Afghanistan or Iraq or Iran or Syria without a returns deal?
But we don't have a returns deal at all since we left Europe.
No. Oh, come on.
No, we don't.
This is not What's that got to do with Afghanistan?
That's got no relevance.
We don't have any right of returning people who arrive illegally.
The point here is that people have come from...
Do we have a right or not?
I'm answering the point, which is that people have said that they have come from countries all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we need to have a deterrent to stop people making that journey.
Yep.
Second, we need to make sure that people are able to be deported back to those countries. Now, the point that Martin made was perhaps we need to interpret the ECHR differently. We all know the Liberal Democrats want to gold plate the ECHR, but, you know, actually, if the Labour Party wants to prove it's serious about dealing with immigration, then we need to reinterpret the ECHR and recognise that the challenges of 2025 are not the challenges of when the ECHR was negotiated.
Final words of Joe, you want to gold plate the ECHR?
Absolutely, and rejoin the EU. There you are. You wanted me to say
an absolute recipe to achieve
nothing. The studio fell silent. Thank you very much. And that's a rarity. Tom Burslove, Exton, Serrano and Joe. A great start to the show. Thank you very much. Great debate. Thank you. Now for the break, Brexit. That word again promised to control our fishing waters. So why is the Labour Party now considering giving away yet more of British fish for a seat at Europe's defence table? And are our fishermen once again being sold down the river? That's next.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
The Pope has played out his carrying of the cross in the public eye and has done that with great grace and great faith, and witnessed to us that it is possible to live and die with dignity and faith.
And that's Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg with the Archbishop of Southwark. And you catch the full interview tonight at 8 p.m. on State of the Nation with Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, here only on GB News. Now, moving on. Brexit was meant to be about taking back control of many things, but of course, of our fishing waters. And today it's emerged that the Labour Party, the government, is considering giving away even more of British fish to join a European Defence Fund. Well, will British fishermen once again be sold down the river? Well, joining me now to discuss this is the British fish merchant Ian Perks. Ian, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have your company. So here we are again. We thought we took back control of our fishing waters when we Brexited. We never really did, because, of course, we were caught in the net of the European Union's rules on quotas and tariffs, and now it appears there's going to be even more rowing back by the Labour Party to take a seat at a European defence table. How do you feel as a fish merchant about this?
Hey, listen, we knew, you know, the fishing industry is used every time as a pawn in a massive game, and you know, we roll over, they walk all over us, and then they crack on with whatever they want to do. This is just, once again, being sold down the river.
And Ian Perks, of course, a lot of people don't understand. You do, I do, and that is the renegotiation of tariffs with Brussels was always locked in. Britain could never get back more. It was about maintaining the status quo, which still allows the French, still allows the EU to plunder our waters. And now the deal on the table, there's a £150 billion EU defence fund, and Macron and von der Leyen et al. Are saying if the Brits want to be at the table to have the ability to sell our defence weapons into the European Defence Force, it means surrendering yet more fish. Ian Perks, this must make you feel like you've been shafted.
We were shafted from the day that we left Europe. We've, you know, people don't understand, and I've no wish to keep coming onto the various news programs and discussing my business, but like people say, you know, if you don't tell people, people never understand. You know, we're a small company here down in Devon. Our expenses have gone through the roof for the past 5 years. I've got a cousin down in Louvre, for example, had a lovely fish export business, had to stop. 2 massive companies have gone bankrupt in the Devon-Dorset area in the past 2 years, purely because of the rising costs. We're doing exactly the same job. All our fish, going 90% export, it has to go through France, be it going to Spain, Holland, Germany, wherever. The French hold the purse strings, as they know, to take our fish, which they have, refuse it, which they have, and they know we can't get it back. So we lose thousands and thousands of pounds. This is ongoing. Now, remember, like I said, we're a small company. We used to export daily. We now export twice a week. We're looking for markets further afield purely because of the rising costs. The job we did, you know, I started this company in 1976, and we've managed very well up until we came out of Europe. £500 to £700 per day extra charges are thrown at us. We met Boris. He came down and spoke to us and said, you know, you guys are going to need extra staff because when we take all this fish off the French, you're going to need more staff. He was right. We did need more staff. We needed more staff to cope with all the paperwork because we were inundated with forms. We went from 3 pieces of paper per shipment to 38 different, all handwritten. We asked, why could we not make it electronic? You know, why, you know, human error creeps in. We have had shipments refused because we've spelt one letter wrong on the Latin name. We've had shipments refused because they're not happy with the temperature. We have to go from Devon, from Brixham here, over to Calais to collect the fish within 24 hours, or they charge you to destroy it. We've had a full truck. We have had a full truck condemned because they were not happy with the quantity. Now, would we, having done this business for many, many years, send a full truck, 80, 100,000 euros of prime quality fish at the wrong temperature, when we've already paid for it? We've already paid for it. We're going to have to wait 60 days to get paid for it. It's destined for the Italian market. And some young lad works in Calais with a temperature control gauge, deems it to be at the wrong temperature. We paid £3,000 to put it into a super freezer before it went to get it to -30.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got these Lithuanian registered super trawlers ploughing up and down the English Channel, all legal, 600-metre trawls. The opening of the trawls is the size of a football pitch.
Yeah, Ian Perks. Ian, we have to leave it there. We have to move on. You paint a picture there of a system entirely stacked against the British fishing industry. Ian Perks, thank you very much for joining us on GB News this evening. Thank you. Let's get back to my panel now. Serrano Jayawardena, the former Conservative MP and the Minister, and also Joe Phillips, the journalist and former Press Secretary to Paddy Ashdown. Serrano, let's come to you first. We heard very clearly there from Ian Perks, promised the world by Boris Johnson, promised the world by Brexit. Didn't quite pan out that way for him.
Well, you know, we have had the opportunity to secure some great freedoms as a result of leaving the EU, including those that Sir Keir Starmer is now using as Prime Minister to pivot us to potentially a US trade deal.
But Boris never properly Brexited on fishing. It was meant to be about taking back control of our waters. Patently, that hasn't happened.
Well, first of all, during the period at which we were negotiating this, David Frost was negotiating this, we also had the pandemic. So there were two challenging sets of negotiations.
The quotas to surrender fishing stocks to the European Union were signed way before the pandemic.
But I
went through them on Christmas Eve of that year.
But the overall agreement, as you know, saw us leave the EU at the end of 2020 and leave the end of the transition period on trade at the end of 2021, both years affected by the pandemic. So there's a lot of other stuff going on. Second, there are a number of different interplaying elements. And what we're seeing now is that even if, and let me just say this, even if people might believe that what was negotiated by the Conservative Party was not good enough, what we're seeing now is the Labour Party going further to surrender our waters to the EU.
Yeah, but Joe
might not be happy, but it's getting worse.
Rano, that's small comfort. That really is small comfort to people like Ian Perks. Joe Phillips, I think wherever you stand on Brexit, it didn't work out for the fishing industry.
And I think, you know, GB News has got a strapline underneath Ian saying Labour betrays fishermen. The only person who betrayed fishermen was Boris Johnson. On so many things about Brexit, and of course we will differ forever on our various views on Brexit, but if you are going to do something, you need to then renegotiate and negotiate how you deal with it when you come out. But to go back to the point of this, the reason the government is considering, and it's not a done deal yet, it's going to be discussed next month at the summit, and what they're discussing is freezing the quota for French fishing boats, fishing vessels.
It should feather down to be less
at the moment
to
they're
the
saying,
French,
yes,
but the French
exactly.
will lock it into its current status.
But they'll lock it into its current status. And in order to allow British companies to, including big ones like British Aerospace, to be able to sell arms and equipment.
But they've got us by the short and curlies with that kind of deal.
Of course they have.
Fish for a right to bid.
Yes, but we've got to be. We're not able to sell anything of our defence products, and that is responsible for.
That's a cartel.
It's the way it works. And the defence business, the defence industry, is worth a lot more in terms of jobs and income, you know, so you've got to look at it in the cold, hard light of day.
But fishing could be so much bigger. It's often said, oh, it's a tiny percent of GDP. That's because we allowed it to run down to its bare bones since the 1970s.
It's also because we have always exported more fish than we've used in this country. If people want to support fishing, then eat and buy more fish.
OK, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Joe and Serrano. Moving swiftly onwards. Coming up next, prison bosses have banned sniffer dogs from the units that once held terror plotter Hashim Abidi after inmates complained that the animals offended their Muslim faith. You couldn't make it up, and that's next.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth,
it's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to GBN Tonight. Now, before the break, we were talking about fishing quotas. Is Keir Starmer betraying fishermen to cosy up to Brussels? Well, Jay says this. The reason the EU is using fishing as a bargaining chip for defence and security pacts is that it was set to lose access to our waters in June 2026. Labour is about to sell them out all over again. And Margaret adds this. What would France do if the situation was reversed and we were plundering fish in their waters? I think I know the answer, so why not act likewise? Margaret, you raise an excellent point. Thanks for your inputs. And Daz says this. This is not Brexit that's at fault, it's weak politicians. Daz, you've smashed the nail on the head. Thanks for all your comments. Now let's move on to our next story. And it's this. Prison bosses have banned sniffer dogs from the units that once held terror plotter Hashim Abidi after inmates complained that the animals offended their Muslim faith. No, this is not April the 1st, because according to the head of the Prison Officers Union, security checks were scrapped after detainees claimed contact with the dogs went against their religious beliefs. Well, Abidi later allegedly went on to seriously injure prison officers using hot oil and an improvised knife. I'm pleased to say the man who raised the alarm joins me now in the studio, Mark Fairhurst, who's the National Chair of the Prison Officers Association. Also, of course, I'm with my panel, Serrano J. Wardener and also Joe Phillips. Let's go first to you, if I could. Mark Fairhurst, I cannot believe this is actually happening. Sniffer dogs are there for a purpose, to sniff out crime, to sniff out terrorists, except if they're Islamic.
Well, this is one example of staff being overruled and prisoners being appeased simply because they complain, and it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are, they should never, ever override security, particularly in a separation centre which houses some of the most dangerous criminals that are in the system.
So how can this be allowed to stand? We hear all the time about two-tier justice, but none of us thought for a moment it would mean the right to deny being accessed by a sniffer dog.
It's been allowed to happen because a management committee that oversees the regimes and the conditions in separation centres have overruled staff, and they've decided to take those complaints on board and disband the dogs from sniffing prisoners when they're getting searched. It's ridiculous. It's appeasement, and it needs to stop. Things need to change, and we're hoping that this independent review that's been commissioned by the government will look into all these issues, listen to the staff on the front line and put things right.
Now, Mark, I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but if you have an exemption from a sniffer dog, it stands to reason that's a route to criminality. It stands to reason they'll be more likely to be shipping drugs into a nick.
Well, it's not the only example, unfortunately, Martin, because you have volumetric control, or supposed to have volumetric control in prison cells, especially in separation centres, to stop people holding too much property in their cells. And there was one cell on that unit that had over 120 books. Now, how do you search a cell when there's over 120 books? And imagine what can be hidden in those books. In fact, the shelves were creaking under the strain. That's another example of staff on a unit being overruled and prisoners being appeased.
How can this... I mean, I can't believe we're even having this conversation. I think people watching this will just be headbutting their tables and chewing their chair legs. How has this been allowed to happen?
Because we've got people in the service who are too fluffy, listen to prisoners instead of doing the right thing by staff. Staff are up for the right thing. They wanted the unit to run properly, like it did when it first opened at Frankland. It was the flag bearer of separation centres, and over time, prisoners have been appeased by this management committee.
And Mark, the minute you give an inch, they take a mile. If sniffer dogs aren't allowed, if book searches aren't allowed, if preferential treatment, that's clearly what this is, becomes the new normal. Before you know it, you have two-tiered regimes within prisons, you have two-tiered policing within prisons, and that emboldens wrong-uns.
This type of prisoner in particular will always push the boundaries. You have to be strong, you have to be robust. And we have to look at the regimes in separation centres. And that's why I've called for an American model based on the Supermax, where you give them their basic entitlements. They are handcuffed every time they are unlocked, so they can't attack staff. You regularly search them, and you give them what they need. That's it, nothing more.
Mark Fairhurst, I'm at loss for words for once. Let's get to my panel. They won't be. Joe Phillips, Serrano J. Warder. Let's go to you first, if I could, Joe. I mean... We can agree with equality before the law. This isn't equality before the law. It's preferential treatment. It's nonsense. More than that, clearly, Mark Fairhurst says it's dangerous.
Well, obviously it's dangerous. And, you know, given that sniffer dogs walk through airports all the time, or, you know, football grounds or major sort of venues and things, nobody's ever suggested that. I mean, I know there are different things for different categories. I'm sure there are controls on dietary things that might offend Jewish people or other people, and that sort of thing.
It's got nothing to do with a sniffer dog carrying out a routine search.
No, it hasn't. But what I'm saying is that I'm sure there are regimes in prison. I mean, Mark will tell me if I'm wrong, where those sort of things are respected, whether people have a right to prayers or stuff like that. How long has this been going on?
This has been going on for too long, obviously. So when it first opened, every prisoner on that centre was searched going off, was searched coming back on, and they regularly used dogs. Over time, that was eroded because of the complaints from prisoners on that unit.
But over what? I mean, is it something like in the last 6 months or the
last 12 months?
Last 12 months. And these the management board, are these lay people?
So the management committee will consist of former governors who've been operational and psychologists. And the problem is when you abide by psychological theory, it works great in a textbook, but in practice, it quite often fails.
Let's be honest, Serrano, this is abject, provable nonsense. Let's just cut to the chase. How can we be in a position where a dog isn't allowed to do its job and they're trained for a purpose?
Yeah.
They're not targeting people because they're bad dogs. They're trying to do their job.
Totally. And first of all, I mean, I thank Mark for coming on and actually telling GB News viewers about this, because it's really important, not only viewers but also politicians hear this, that this is what's going on. This is clearly wrong. And it's not just, though it is important, the safety of staff in our prisons, but it's also for the appropriate administering of justice across this country, that security in prisons should be maintained. And that's why, I mean, I'm very attracted to what Mark says about the Supermax model of saying, look, people in custody to be punished. Yes, we hope that they'd be rehabilitated as well, but there is an element of punishment that is important, and it is important that everyone, no matter what class, colour or creed they might be, that they receive that punishment so that justice is done.
And also, how about if this nonsense filters out to the outside world? So,
yes,
for example, at the Manchester Arena, security guards are afraid, well, we better not put a dog on these people in case that's racist. Astonishing. Mark Fairhurst, National Chairman for the Prison Officers Association.
Said?
We're coming to that now.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, Mark, for coming in. Pleasure. Please keep speaking out, and thank you to my panel. Now, the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has said this: wherever I find there is an opportunity to strengthen our defences and better protect our staff and the public, I will do so. The Prison Service will also conduct a snap review into whether protective body armour should be made available to front-line staff. Thank you very much, Mark Fairhurst. Excellent. And thank you, of course, to my panel. Now, coming up next, the hidden cost of going green. Could Labour's net zero plan wipe thousands off the value of your house? That's next. Stay with us.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It was a bit of a mixed picture for many of us over the bank holiday weekend, and there are still some showers around, particularly across parts of Madeira, the Canary Islands too, though perhaps some sunnier spells here. But it is looking a little bit drier across parts of Spain and Portugal on Wednesday. Still plenty of showers on offer though for parts of Italy, Greece and Turkey as well. Temperatures for most of us in the high teens or low 20s. The best of the temperatures over the next couple of days, definitely across the Canary Islands, with highs here of 24 or 25 degrees.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Well, welcome back to GBN Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Now to a net zero row that's turning up the high voltage, and not in a good way for British homeowners, because new research reveals that pylons are knocking up to £100,000 off the value of some homes, with some properties losing more than 15% of their overall value. Now, the average size home near a pylon is now selling for around £8,000 less than before. And in some cases, like in Sevenoaks, the hit is almost £100,000. Now, is this proof that Labour's green agenda could come at a heavy cost to working families, not just on their bills, but on the value of their homes? Well, joining me now is Rosie Pearson. She's the founder of the Essex, Suffolk and Norfolk Pylons Action Group. Rosie, welcome to the show. A lot of us have reservations about the net zero expansion, but not many of us have thought about the knock-on effect on property houses. Tell us more.
It's actually even worse on the ground when you have a new pylon proposal near you than it is in this report. The report is looking at existing pylons. So you can get a sense when you're buying a house of what it might look like and the damage has been done. With the new ones, we're seeing people who are taking a hit of 250, 300,000, not infrequently on their house. We've got buyers pulling out the minute they find out about the new pylons. It's the first question estate agents are asking people is how close are you to the pylon proposal? And people can't get mortgages to buy a house near these new projects. So it's far worse than this project sets out. And it's really unfair. People have worked for years to pay off their mortgage. Some people's houses, their pensions, and they are unable to sell. Some people have to sell for illness, for whatever reason, and they cannot sell. And no compensation. You get money off your bill if you're lucky.
Now, no doubt Rosie Pearson, the likes of Ed Miliband, they would say, but you're a NIMBY. You should be embracing the net zero dream.
Yeah, we've had all sorts of insults, haven't we, from Ed Miliband? And we're not averse to the offshore wind, which is what these pylons are mostly for. But the problem is areas like East Anglia and Wales and Scotland, they're just conduits for the power. So we get all the disadvantages, all the damage to the countryside, the hit to the house prices, all the risk to health, damage to businesses. But what you don't get is any of the benefits anyway. You don't even use the power here. So in East Anglia, we only use about 8% of the power that will come trundling through on these huge pylons. So when you see a study like this, it really reminds you that there is an enormous cost that we've been shouting about, but the government's just not interested. Whatever we say, government just says pylons are cheap, which they're not, actually. The alternatives are more expensive, which they are not. And government's using outdated reports. It's not using its own Treasury guidance to assess projects properly. National Grid is deleting videos when we find them that actually say it's cheaper to do an offshore grid than pylons. And Ofgem, who's supposed to be the regulator, is not actually regulating. They are taking at face value everything National Grid says. National Grid is not a national company. It's not got our best interests at heart. It's shareholder owned. It's a multinational, and all it cares about is its profits. So we're in a real mess of a situation here where pylons are not the solution. There are ways of doing it, and government just needs to listen.
And Rosie Pearson, we see so often with things such as HS2, development comes first, smallholders get minced, they get thrown out of the way? Do you fear that no matter how much you protest, the machine, the wheels of net zero would trundle on and crush the likes of you?
Well, it's certainly a risk, but we are not ready to stop fighting. We've got lots of legal arguments on our side, and the long and short of it is that eventually, if the Secretary of State approves the plan, we can take him, presumably it's still Mr Miliband, to court, and that's what we will do, because there are so many flaws to the proposal that we're fighting. And we want things to be done better, but at the moment, the plan that's proposed is more expensive for consumers. So when government tells you pylons are the cheapest way of doing things, that brings down your bills, it's not true, and there's so many reports to show that. So yes, we will keep fighting. Certainly, government's up for a fight as well. So we'll have to see what happens.
OK, thank you very, very much for joining us on GBN tonight. Rosie Pearson, the founder there of the Essex, Suffolk and Norfolk Pylons Action Group. Now, I'm joined in the studio by Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg because, of course, State of the Nation is up next. But, Sir Jacob, before we get to what's on your menu, could I ask you about this point here? It just seems that so many times now we hear about innocent people, homeowners, property owners, business owners, who just seem to get caught under the tracks of net zero. People having their house prices squashed, their businesses annihilated. Seems to be oftentimes that net zero just means net poorer.
Oh yes, net zero is a disaster. We've got to give it up as a policy. It's putting up the cost of energy. A lot of the propaganda around it is untrue, as you were hearing, that actually these pylons are very expensive. It's much cheaper to do what the Chinese are doing and have coal and gas-powered stations that produce electricity reliably all year round. Net zero is for the birds. We're 0.9% of total global emissions. It's very expensive. Why has Scunthorpe closed? British Steel come under such threat? Because of net zero. We've got to abandon net zero.
And yet, Sir Jacob, there seems to be a newfound embrace of, for example, at Scunthorpe, of the smelting plant there. Maybe the Labour Party is smelling the coffee, or am I being optimistic?
I think you're being optimistic. I think that Ed Miliband, a man actually I like, I think he's a very decent man, is completely obsessed by net zero. It's in the bones of the Labour Party now that they want to do it. He refused permission for a coal mine that would have provided coal to keep Scunthorpe going. They said it couldn't be used domestically, then it turned out it could. There's a lot of mistruths about net zero and the environment, because what these pylons do is they sacrifice the environment for a bit of carbon dioxide.
OK, so Jacob, we have a minute left on the show. Of course, State of the Nation is up next. What's on your menu?
State of the Nation is up next. I'm really lucky. I've got an exclusive interview for GB News with the Archbishop of Southwark, who's one of the most senior Catholic prelates in this country, talking about the legacy of Pope Francis, but also the gossip. Who's going to be the next Pope? What's going to happen in the conclave? What do they talk about? What do they get up to? It's a really interesting conversation with him. And then I'm going to be finishing, as you had brilliantly on your programme, Man Aged 103, going a bit younger than you. I've got a lady of 100 who was a volunteer in the Second World War to talk about Tess Dunlop's book on the statues of wartime.
Fantastic stuff. State of the Nation is up next. And you know what? I get so blown away in the presence of those heroes, of those veterans. It's just an incredible experience. State of the Nation is up next with Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg. So thank you for your company. I'll be back tomorrow, 3 till 6 p.m. Hope you've enjoyed the show. And thank you for those people who sent in your says. And keep them coming in to Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg. He's up next with State of the Nation. But first, here's your weather with Honor Krizik. Have a fantastic evening.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, it's going to be quite a wet start across parts of the southeast and elsewhere. A fairly cloudy day with some showers, though it's still going to be feeling warm and pleasant where you catch any brighter interludes. And it's turning unsettled through this evening and overnight, all thanks to low pressure, eventually sweeping in cloud and outbreaks of rain. Now, through this evening, outbreaks of rain could be quite heavy at times, particularly across any hilly areas, and turning fairly blustery too, particularly around exposed coasts. But behind it, turning clearer, just a little bit showery across southern parts of Wales, parts of the southwest, and across Scotland, northern parts of England. It should be mostly dry, some clearer skies at times, which means it's going to turn a little bit chillier here, but elsewhere it's going to be a mostly mild night as a result of all the cloud and rain. So across central parts of the southeast, those outbreaks of rain continuing, still a little heavy at times and still fairly blustery. Showers set to continue across Devon and Cornwall, but for Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, a largely dry start to the day. Plenty of clear and bright spells to start too. Across Scotland, we'll see a mix of cloud and some brighter spells, a chance of some showers, particularly across the Northern Isles, some longer spells of rain here. So rain set to continue across central and southeastern parts through the morning, eventually fizzling out, but it's going to leave behind some cloud. Still a chance of some light outbreaks of rain. But across Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, Northern England, a few sunnier spells here, but still a risk of showers, particularly in the west, and the odd one or two turning rather heavy. But in the brighter spells, still feeling pleasant for the time of year. Highs around 17, possibly 18 degrees Celsius. Now into Thursday, once again a fairly cloudy start, particularly around North Sea coast, but most cloud burning back through the course of the morning, allowing some brighter spells to develop. But once again a change on its way from the west, more cloud feeding in here, and eventually we'll see outbreaks of rain. And for the rest of the week, it's the wettest in the west, but still plenty of dry weather and temperatures improving day by day. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening. It's me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, on State of the Nation tonight.
Pope has played out his carrying of the cross in the public eye and has done that with great grace and great faith, and witnessed to us that it is possible to live and die with dignity and faith.
To mark the death of the Holy Father, I spoke earlier today to one of the most senior English Catholic clerics, the Archbishop of Southwark, at St George's Cathedral. The Tory party is set to force the hand of the government as it plans to table a vote on banning Orwellian non-crime hate incidents. I will be speaking to one of the peers behind the move. Home Office has finally succumbed to Robert Jenrick's year-long campaign for a migrant crime league table. Will it prove what we've all suspected? Plus, for the evening's finale, State of the Nation's Book Club returns. In advance of the 80th anniversary of VE Day, I will be speaking to our favourite lefty, Tessa Dunlop, about her new book, but also to an amazing 100-year-old Second World War veteran. State of the Nation starts now. I'll also be joined by a particularly pugnacious panel, the journalist and author Michael Crick and the Shadow Defence Minister Mark Francois. As always, I want to hear your views. You know how to do it. mailmog@gbnews.com. But now, it's your favourite time of the day, the News Bulletin with Sam Francis.
Jacob, thank you, and good evening to you. Just after 8 o'clock, leading the news tonight, Sir Keir Starmer says he no longer believes transgender women are women, according to his official spokesman. It follows a landmark Supreme Court ruling on the legal definition of sex. The judgment says equalities law defines women by biological sex, a move the Prime Minister welcomed, saying it provides much-needed clarity. Well, Labour's Equality Minister said earlier in the Commons that the law is now crystal clear, but blamed Kemi Badenoch for failing to act when she was in government.
I have campaigned for decades on women's rights. I know more than most the importance of spaces for women. I fought for them, I delivered them, I ran them. And during my time running that refuge, while Labour was delivering the groundbreaking Equality Act, which this ruling confirms sets in law the basis for single-sex spaces, what was the leader of the opposition doing? She was busy hacking the website of the leading architect of the Equality Act, forever the keyboard warrior.
Kemi Badenoch, though, hit back, accusing Labour of abandoning common sense.
I could not believe my eyes or my ears this afternoon. In 2021, the Prime Minister said it is not right to say only women have a cervix. In 2022, he said it is the law that trans women are women. In 2023, he said, and I quote, 99% of women don't have a penis. I know what a woman is, and I always have. Yeah. The people of this country know what a woman is. We didn't need the Supreme Court to tell us that, but this government did.
In other news tonight, British Steel has scrapped plans for up to 2,700 redundancies after the UK government took control of the company earlier this month. The firm says it is now able to keep both of its blast furnaces running continuously. Interim Chief Lisa Coulson thanked staff and unions for their extraordinary dedication through what she called a difficult and worrying time. She confirmed the consultation is closing without action. It follows new legislation passed to help stabilise operations there. Also tonight, tens of thousands have gathered in Rome after the death of Pope Francis, with the air outside the Vatican described as thick with emotion. His body will lie in state at St Peter's Basilica from tomorrow ahead of Saturday's funeral. Among those attending, Prince William, marking his first time representing the monarch at a global funeral. He'll be joined, of course, by many other world leaders, including, we now know, Sir Keir Starmer and Donald Trump in St Peter's Square. The Vatican says that up to 250,000 mourners are expected to attend the service for the People's Pope. And HMS Prince of Wales and earlier today HMS Dauntless set sail from Portsmouth on one of the Royal Navy's largest deployments to date. Yes, that is the ship, not my stomach. HMS Prince of Wales, the £3 billion aircraft carrier, will lead that multinational strike group to 40 countries. It's carrying up to 24 stealth jets, drones, helicopters and more than 1,600 personnel, all as part of Operation High Mast. Commanders say the ship is ready to switch to active operations if global events demand it. And the mission, set to last for 8 months, will hopefully see all 2,500 UK military personnel back by Christmas. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you for a full roundup at 9 o'clock. Now, though, it's back to Jacob.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to State of the Nation. I'm here in the magnificent surroundings of St George's Cathedral, Southwark, with the Archbishop himself, His Grace John Wilson, who's kindly agreed to talk to me and reflect on the death of the late Pope, Pope Francis. Well, Your Grace, thank you very much for joining me on State of the Nation on an occasion that is both sad and, in a way, joyful, because for the Pope to have a provided death, something all Catholics pray for, immediately after Easter Sunday, still within the octave of Easter, there couldn't be a better time for a holy man to be called to his Maker.
No, I agree completely. And I think we'd seen the Pope in hospital, and we know he'd been very, very poorly. And then we saw him begin to recover a little bit and make public appearances, still very impaired. I think yesterday, when he was able to give us the blessing of Easter from the balcony, and also to be amongst his people in the square, in a sense enabled him to do the two most important things a Pope must do. One is to witness to the resurrection, and the second is to strengthen God's people. And he did both of those things. And if I could choose a time to die, it would be just like this. It would be at Easter, in the joy of hope and faith of the resurrection.
Almost like Christ on the cross, he could have said, "It is finished."
Yeah, very much so. He could have avoided the public, he could have gone into hiding. And this is one of the great dangers of our society and our culture, that we hide away suffering. And the Pope has played out his carrying of the cross in the public eye, and has done that with great grace and great faith, and witnessed to us that it is possible to live and die with dignity and faith.
Catholics now all over the world are praying for the repose of his soul. You'll be having masses, there's mass every day in St Peter's. But we can also start thinking about his legacy. And I just wonder whether you think he was that liberal figure people have made him out to be, because it seems to me he stuck pretty faithfully to the teaching of the Church.
I would agree with you, absolutely. In many ways, he has brought a different tone to the ministry of the Church. And I think the biggest change he's asked for us is attitudinal. I love the encounter with the Lord Jesus and the rich young man in the Gospel. When the rich young man struggles to follow, he's too encumbered. And the Lord Jesus looks steadily at him and loves him. And for me, that sums up what the Pope has brought to the Church at this time. That the gaze of the Church, and all of us within it, to each other and to the world, must be one of looking steadily with the love of Jesus, with the compassion of Jesus, in order to enable people to understand themselves more deeply in his light, and please God, to come to faith in him.
And the Church preaches forgiveness. Christ preached forgiveness. But to the woman taken in adultery, he also says, yes, go away and sin no more. Yes. It's not a sort of free-for-all. And the late Pope clearly had that in mind.
I think so, very much so. Compassion doesn't make things that are wrong right. It asks us to go to the place of people's suffering and hurt and stand with them and accompany them. And in whatever ways we can, to lead them further towards a deepened sense of the truth about themselves and the truth of the gospel. I think the great gift of Pope Francis has been one of a merciful accompaniment of people and a trust in God's patience and providence for us. The New Testament says that we must think of God's patience as our opportunity to be saved. Well, we all say thank God for that. We need God to be patient. And we need to be patient too as his providence is worked out. But we can't deny the truth, but we must always love.
And in terms of not denying the truth, the late Holy Father is absolutely clear on the sanctity of marriage. He hasn't allowed women priests, all the things that the liberals were saying he was about to do. He didn't actually do. He stuck to the historic teaching of the Church.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. In ways that he could bring about change, he has. So for those positions in the Curia, in the Roman Curia, for example, that don't require, by necessity, someone who's ordained, he's opened that up, and that's a rightful thing. Most of our dioceses now have people who are serving us and working for us, lay people, men and women. Those jobs would have been done by priests in years gone by. So realising what is the authentic baptismal vocation is important, but also understanding what is the preserve of those who are ordained and configured to Christ, the head of the Church.
And maintaining their authority and indeed the papal authority to guide the faithful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the Pope's responsibility for maintaining unity in faith has to be paramount in the Church. That's what Catholicity means. It's what is believed always by all people for all time. And safeguarding that is absolutely essential. So we all look to the Pope as our point and anchor of unity in the Church.
And now, of course, in 15 to 20 days from the death of a pope, there has to be a conclave. The cardinals get locked away. The ones under 80 have a vote. What will they be doing? What will their discussions be? How political is it? How much gossip is there?
Far be it from me to even speculate. I love the Italian phrase that says, the man who goes in the conclave of pope comes out a cardinal. So we can often be surprised by what happens in the conclave, because fundamentally we believe it is the work of the Holy Spirit. But of course, there will be discussions, there'll be weighing up of candidates. I think the biggest question for us is, what does the Church need in a new pope for its mission to the world? And that's the priority, really, because the Church's fundamental mission is about salvation. So who can best articulate the gospel in its fullness to the world at this time, given the complexity of our world and the complexity of the Church? So there will be some degree of continuity needed, not just from Pope Francis, but also from Pope Benedict and from St. John Paul II, but also a look at the world with fresh eyes and the Church with fresh eyes to ensure that we retain essential continuity, but with the constant renewal of faith, so that the gospel can be for all time and all peoples.
In a way, the Church has been very lucky in the last three popes that they have had different characteristics, but the three of them together have been wonderfully powerful for the Church. So you have that amazingly charismatic figure in Pope John Paul II, who is so important politically, actually, as well as spiritually. Then Pope Benedict with an intellectual rigour that the Church needed to make sure things were working properly. And then the forgiveness that was brought, the merciful aspect of Pope Francis. And so the next Pope has to be a continuity for that, whilst also bringing something new.
Yeah, I agree. And many people talk about how St. John Paul II proclaimed the faith, how Benedict taught the faith, and how Pope Francis helped us to live and love through faith. So yes, faith, hope and love, three essential theological virtues. I think the new Pope needs a little bit of all of them, but he will bring his own charism and his own perspective and his own gifts. And I think most of us who receive office in the Church as bishops or as the Pope, no one really trains you for this, you know. And I find that the Lord is much kinder than I deserve, and he provides the gifts we need. So I think we need to see this supernaturally. This is not just the election of a president. This is the discernment of God's will for the leader of the Church on earth. And therefore we see this through supernatural eyes of faith.
And so there will be a great deal of prayer, yes. And the cardinals don't know each other as well as they used to, as the Church has become increasingly universal and outside Italy, when all the popes used to come from Italy.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And many of the cardinals appointed by Pope Francis are from what's often called the peripheries, so countries that have not had a cardinal before, often smaller territories. Traditionally, cardinals have been from the major capital cities of the world. That's not the case now. They've not been gathered as often, so they don't really know each other. So part of the conclave process and the consistory beforehand will be them weighing each other up.
And the last pope to be elected outside the College of Cardinals was Pope Urban VI. So, Your Grace, it is possible.
Well, I believe in miracles, but not that one.
Your Grace, thank you very much indeed for joining me and for your reflections on the late Pope.
It's an absolute delight. Thank you.
That was His Grace, the Archbishop of Southwark, talking about the late Pope. In a moment, I will be speaking to Toby Young about his plan to restore free speech in the United Kingdom by forcing His Majesty's government to abolish non-crime hate incidents.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here We do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Some people just don't share our values. And so if this data is not going to shine a light on that, then it's going to be woefully inadequate. And the question everyone will be asking is, what's being hidden here? Why does the Ministry of Justice, why does the Home Office, why does the government not want to be completely transparent? Are they trying to hide something?
Well, that was Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Lord Chancellor, being interviewed by Patrick Christie's, which you'll be able to watch in full immediately after this programme. An estimated 130,000 non-crime hate incidents have been recorded over the past decade in the United Kingdom, which allows the police to compile data on individuals who are alleged to have committed acts perceived to be motivated by hatred, but are crucially not criminal. This, of course, begs the question, why would the police be pursuing things that are not actually criminal? The good news is that the Tory party leader, Kemi Badenoch, has announced a plan to force the government to vote on a ban of non-crime hate incidents. So we're going to ban the recording of these non-crime things. And I'm now joined by a very distinguished group to discuss this, my most pugnacious panel, and of course, Lord Young, Toby Young. Toby, you've been very much involved in this with the Free Speech Union. Why is the Conservative Party now taking this up? Would they have done it if you hadn't pushed them?
Well, I think Kemi Badenoch has always been opposed to the recording of non-crime hate incidents. And to be fair to the Conservative Party, in 2023, Suella Braverman, then Home Secretary, laid a statutory instrument designed to rein in the recording of NCHIs. But research carried out by the Free Speech Union and others, in fact, have shown that since that statutory instrument was passed, actually the police are recording even more NCHIs, so it hasn't worked. We need to take more drastic action.
Wasn't Theresa May, the Home Secretary, who introduced the recording of these incidents in the first place?
Well, it was actually introduced by the College of Policing, which was a quango created under the coalition. That was in when she was Home Secretary, yes.
So a Conservative about to be a Prime Minister introduces something which we then think the Conservatives deserve credit for 10 years later saying was a disaster.
Well, there's more rejoicing in heaven.
But it is a sinner who has repented. I would put it bluntly, it was our fault that this started.
Well, the quango that created non-crime hate incidents, the College of Policing, was created when David Bonfire of the Quangos Cameron, was Prime Minister. Yeah, the Tories were asleep at the wheel. They allowed this to happen, and I think Kemi, at least, is trying to do something about it.
And are the police out of control in doing this if there were restrictions brought in by a former Home Secretary, by Suella Braverman, and they've just carried on doing it? Do they not care what they're being told to do by law?
I think the problem is the police are so concerned in the wake of the